This video is all about getting one game to run across three engines: Monogame, Unity, and Godot. Hello, in this video we're going to discuss me taking an idea that I had when I was remembering about this book. This is Games Programming 21 Days by Andre Lamothe, and I had this book years and years ago, and I got about maybe that far into it, but the thing I remembered about it was that there was a text adventure chapter which I kind of skipped forward to, because I've always had this idea of writing a text adventure. I had the professional adventure writer system when I was a kid, and I would write little adventures in there, but they were never quite the, Delta 4 were not quaking in the boots, let me put it that way. They were kind of crappy adventures. But I did enjoy writing them, and I wanted to have that same sort of feeling again in modern times. And by that what I mean is I wanted to have like a DOS terminal look, but I also wanted graphics as well, and that was really important to me. And the only engine I could or framework actually that I thought that could do that for me relatively easy is Monogame. It's very programmer oriented, shall we say. And so that's what I did. I set off creating this game engine in Monogame. But then I had a kind of change of heart, because I know that a lot of you like Unity and a lot of you like Godot, and I thought to myself, maybe we can convert this to those other two platforms. And this is the journey that I took. This video is the journey that I took to get from this idea of creating a text adventure to converting it to these three different platforms, if you like, I guess. Anyway, let's crack on with the story. So first things first, I wrote this crappy little parser using a command line tool. I've lost it. I don't know where it is, and I don't have any footage for it. But essentially, it took in a verb and a noun, and it allowed me to tokenize that and parse out the information, get it back whether it was a true statement or it was a false statement, or like it was a valid parsed statement, or it was just gobbledygook or whatever. And that worked really well. And then the next step was to basically build the game out from there. So I needed something to render, so I spent a bit of time trying to find the IBM font, and I think I ended up finding a spreadsheet that kind of worked for me but didn't do what I wanted it to do, and ended up having to do some Photoshop-y type stuff in there. But I got it working eventually. Rendering it to the screen is fairly straightforward. It's essentially just a buffer of characters. That's all terminal is. I created a sprite sheet class that took the character set and then just chopped up into pieces. I made sure that the screen was 80 columns by 25, I think it is, and that fitted quite neatly onto the screen. And then I chose a format for the graphic, because part of the deal was I wanted it to look like a terminal, but I also wanted graphics in there as well, to sort of remind me of, like, The Hobbit, those kind of classic games. I spent a bit of time doing that. All the time I was building out the engine part of it though, and that was the important part, was that as I was making this adventure game up, you'll see it in the screenshots. It's a kind of Doctor Who adventure, because my intention was I was going to write it with my daughter. I wanted to kind of get the jump on making the game engine, and so I created these. They are AI graphics. They need to be. The whole game needs to be replaced. To be honest, it's a copyright nightmare. Essentially, the idea is you've lost the TARDIS key and you need to find it. That's the simple game in there. When I was building out the game, I was building out the game engine as well, and so the game and the game engine kind of fed into there. What I was trying to do though was I was trying to recreate the professional adventure writing system, PAWS, because I really liked it. I thought it was a good system to use. So there's a lot of condition action. You'll see if you read the source code, there's a lot of condition action in there, where it's, if this condition happens, perform these actions, and you can do them depending on location or what flag is set and all those kind of things. So all of that was getting built out while I was making the actual game. And I think that was really important to do that. You should never optimize too early, and you should never start splitting things off and into separate DLLs and libraries and all that kind of stuff when you're trying to build something out. You're asking for problems at that point, because you've got to integrate everything at the end. So it's much easier to have it all in one place and then build it out from there. So there's a lot of things that go into making an adventure game. There's locations, there's items, there's the noun and verb, directions, all that kind of stuff, go north, and all of those have to be managed. And I used a JSON file for that, So I brought in Newtonsoft's JSON library because it's the easiest one. I think 99% of the people use it. When you go to Nougat, the package manager, it actually that's the first one. So it's almost like that's the de facto. So I mean, at some point they'll probably roll it into .NET maybe. I don't know. So if I needed a feature, all I needed to do was just add it to the JSON file, write a little parser routine, basically to sort of deserialize that information, get it into the engine, then write the code around it, and that was it. That was pretty much how I did features for the engine. But then at some point, the engine got the engine was tied too much to Monogame, and I needed to separate it out. Because at this point, I was thinking to myself, well, I don't want to ship the game and the engine, because the idea is that this is going to get released and people are going to use the engine by themselves. So I don't want it tied in with what I'm working on, which is an adventure game. So I started to separate the engine from the actual game itself at this point. So the idea came to me that maybe what I should have is actually have a very, very thin bridge and have that as part of the monogame itself, and then the engine would be a separate DLL. And then you would interface everything on the DLL side. You'd perform all the actions on the DLL side, and then there'd be callbacks that would allow you to interact with whatever component or game object or whatever it was that you had on your platform of choice. I wasn't really thinking about platform of choice at this point. I was just thinking separation of the monogame game itself and the engine. And so that's what I set about doing, and that was successful. And I separated everything out, and I created this new one, which is called the TAIR, which I created this acronym. I thought, oh, it was really funny, TAIR, because page, interactive fiction. I thought it was funny, but I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Text Adventure Writing Engine or something. Something like that. Anyway, but that's what TAIR means. I think I've got it in the README. I hope I've got it in the README, so I can remember it later on. That's why we write things down. So it was about this time where I was thinking about how can I present this as a video, and I thought, well, unfortunately, I like Monogame, but not everyone out there likes Monogame, and my channel is quite Unity-centric, I would say. So I thought to myself, I went into thinking a panic mode, thinking to myself, well, now I need to sort of explain myself about how this ties in with Unity. So I did some more refactoring because I realized there was quite a lot of monogame stuff still in. It was still quite tied to monogame, so I spent some time refactoring the actual DLL to make it completely agnostic. So it's only pure C# that's inside the TAIR engine DLL. And I thought, okay, that's me, I'm done. So I was using .NET 10 as that's the sort of default monogame template, gives you .NET 10. So I dragged and dropped the DLL into Unity, and Unity did not like it. It did not like it one bit. So what I ended up having to do was go and do some Googling. I kind of went to Godot forums and Stack Overflow as well. So I went to regular places because I was trying to basically avoid AI as much as I could on this project. And other than the art, I think I did it successfully. What that meant though was I found out that .NET 10 is not a good platform for Unity. Basically, Unity is stuck in .NET Standard 2. So I needed a way to convert the stuff that I'd written to .NET Standard 2. Now, everything I had up until that point was in .NET 10. If you're confused with these version numbers, it doesn't really matter. It's just that I was in the wrong version for Unity. So I had to figure out how to do that. So I thought, well, I could convert the entire project to .NET Standard 2, but, well, it's just Unity that's the problem. So what if I don't do that? So I created another project called TAIR for Unity, and I made that a .NET Standard 2 project. Now, what that meant though was I then had to go and undo all the .NET 10 stuff that makes things nice, which was a bit of a pain. .NET 10 has got a lot of like forgiving things, so you don't need using system and all those kind of usings. Those are unused usings basically. You can put them in, but you don't need to. .NET Standard 2 requires that. So when I converted it, when I pulled the project across, basically what I did was I created a blank project, and then I linked all the source files into the respective folders. And the reason why I did that is because I didn't want to make an actual copy of the code. I wanted to do the main copy in the repo, and then I'll write a test harness for the other one, so that if there's any mistakes, it'll get picked up in the build. So the long and short of it is, I made this project with all these link files and ended up with like 150 errors. So I had to go through the code and basically d.tenify all the code, which was a pain in the backside. Not a huge problem, but still it was tedious. So yeah, that was the thing. Once I had the DLLs in the correct format, the .NET Standard 2 version of the DLLs, I dropped that into Unity and everything worked. And then what I did was I created a script file and a game object, and used that as my bridge between the Unity engine and the Tear engine. Now at this point, all I had to do was write a serializer that took the text asset, which was the data.json, and then send that to the engine, and that's pretty much it as far as kickstarting the engine is concerned. The underlying internal state machine just handles everything else after that. However, it does have callbacks, and those have to go somewhere, so I had to create some UI elements in the scene. So I created a text box for the text description. I created a graphic, an image for the image, and then a text area for the input. So in a traditional text adventure, you'll have what next, and then there'll be like a flashing cursor at the bottom. For Unity and also for Godot, I just have a text box, and there's a placeholder text that says what next, and I thought that's good enough. You got to do it for whatever platform you're working on. So basically there's very, very minimal amount of setup on the Unity side. You just need, like I said, a picture box, an image box, a text, and then a text entry field, and that's it. That's all you need, and then you wire things up, and it all works. So that was cool. So then I thought, okay, I was writing the README saying, this will work with Monogame. There's also a Unity project, you can use that. And at some point I'll convert it to Godot. So I was writing the README, and I'm thinking to myself, I could probably just write the Godot one just now. So I downloaded Godot.net, not the other one, just Godot.net. I know nothing about Godot, nothing at all. But I quickly found out, again, after doing some Googling and things like that, so I found out that it's node-based, very similar to Unity, but there's only one script per node, which is different to Unity. Obviously, you can have many components on a game object. This one's just one per node, but I thought, okay, that's fine. So I created a node for the game engine. I created a text node for the description, an entry field node for command entry, and then an image node for there. Arranged the screen, which is quite nicely how it works in Godot. I don't know if you guys have used Godot. I'm maybe preaching to the choir here, but the 2D works really well. Obviously, there's a couple of gotchas with, I didn't know about themes and things, because I wanted to change the text to make it look like an IBM terminal. Like how to change the background color is a bit of a faff when you're doing 2D. You got to go into like project settings and change the default background transparency or something, I think it's called. But eventually got everything all sorted and wired everything up, created the bridge class, wired up the serializer that I created in Godot, which of course is just .NET. So it's very, very simple. It just loads the file and fired it up, and it worked. That was it. 3 platforms running one game. And it all worked. Just a very, very thin veneer to get everything to work with the game engine, and it worked perfect. Can't be any more happier. So if you want to use it with Monogame, you can. If you want to use it with Unity, you can. And if you want to use it with Godot, you can. What's next? Unreal. I probably could get it working with Unreal. I'm not sure. I need to look at how the DLLs work with Unreal, but I'm pretty sure I could probably get it to work. Anything else? .NET, I could probably get it to work. It's fairly straightforward at this point. It's just doing a sort of thin, like I said, a thin veneer of a bridge, and that's it, done. Anyway, if you want the specifics on how I handle the DLLs, or a video and a tutorial on how to create your own DLLs and use them inside Unity or even Godot, just drop a comment in the comments below and let me know. I really hope you like this video. I really enjoyed making this. It's taken me months to get to this point, just because I've been building it kind of piecemeal. I think it's been about a year or something. I think it's taken me to get to this point, mostly just because it's an hour here and an hour there. It's never been it's been more of a passion project than an actual project, but I'm so happy with it that everything works, and I hope you use the text engine. What's next for the text engine? Well, there's no editor for it just now, so I'm currently working on an editor. There's a rudimentary editor. If you download the code, the link is in the show notes. If you download the code, you'll see it in there. I have been using AI for that, so not for the engine itself or for the game work, and it hasn't done it right. So what I might end up doing is just rewriting it myself, because I have done a node graph thing in the past. I wrote it in WinForms years and years ago, so I might try my hand at writing it by myself, but it might take another year to do that. Or you can hand bomb the JSON, which is it's okay, but when the room descriptions get too much, it's a bit unwieldy. So yeah, I might separate that out. The other thing is encryption. It's not encrypted, it's just a straight JSON file, so anyone can look at the secrets and so on. So that was the sort of next thing on the list, was to encrypt it using something. I don't know what I would use to encrypt it. If you have any ideas, let me know in the show notes below as well. But I think that's it for this one anyway. I hope you liked it. And I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share on social media. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.